mute myself.
All right, so I'm starting to record now.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tara Short. I'm the founder and director of Green Edventures Tours. And tonight we're going to be talking about our trip to to Idaho to do the main Salmon River. And the goal of this presentation is to give you kind of an overview of the itinerary, a little bit of a glimpse into a day in the life of being on the river, and to help you prepare, like to know what to bring on this trip, and then also give you a chance to ask some questions. In addition to those folks who are interested in going for the first time on this trip, we have some folks who are participants from the 2020 trip who can also jump in with their perspectives as a participant. And then we're really lucky that we have Stephanie Ellis here with us as well. Stephanie is my partner in crime in Idaho, and she is the co-owner of Aggipah River Trips. And what's kind of interesting is that I had I didn't know Idaho was so cool. Let's just put it that way. I didn't really know what was in Idaho, and I didn't have a desire even to go there. And COVID, I called the Idaho trip one of my COVID-inspired destinations, because in March, when we were grounded from all our international travel, I was thinking, okay, what could we do in the lower 48 that is represents iconic wilderness, animals, just celebrates the United States. And a few months before this happened, I had a graduate student who was working with Aggipah River Trips had reached out to me because he wanted to learn more about women's travel. And he told me about Aggipah River Trips and Stephanie. And I said, before he could even give him the information, I thought, this is something I'm interested in actually doing. So maybe you can just send me some information so that I can just keep it in my back pocket for when I'm ready to check out the main Salmon River. Well, flash forward to just a couple months later to March, and I was looking for trips, and I reached out to Stephanie, and I said, Stephanie, let's try to work together. So Stephanie, do you just want to introduce yourself and Aggipah River Trips?
Sure, I can do that. So I'm Stephanie. I grew up here in Salmon, Idaho. It's a little teeny tiny place in central Idaho, kind of right in our big wilderness area, right on the border. That's something that Idaho is pretty famous for, is that we have a massive amount of wilderness area, and our Salmon River flows right through the heart of it. So my dad started our company in 1977. He'd been guiding for several years prior to that. So this is actually our 45th season and my 27th season on the river. I started working for him when I was 13 and have been just going every summer and building up our business. And we still work together, but kind of separately also. So I have 2 little kids, and that's me. I work on the river and take care of 2 little kids. Yeah.
And Stephanie is just, you were just, I'm sure the others who have been on the trip can say this too. It was a real pleasure to work with you, because you clearly have a passion for what you're doing. The guides that joined us on the trip also are just experienced guides who also care about clients and care about making sure that individuals have a really great experience, in addition to taking care of the group. And I always felt really safe. So let's look at some photos of this trip. And let's see. Okay. Goodness. Okay. So what I wanted to avoid when I was creating this slideshow was to just have it was because I don't know if you've ever been out west, you know, one picture of a mountain turns into like, and you do 1,000 of them, they all look like the same pictures of mountains. And to you, they felt different. And you're like, but the sun was hitting it just this way. Or, you know, like we had just seen, so you have like this personal memory that's really hard to convey in just a slideshow or in just pictures. So what I did was instead was just kind of break this trip down into topics. And then, and then also I feel like part of it is like even though, you know, the river is flowing one direction and you can see we have some of the same stops along the way, the experience that we had in August is going to be different than the experience that you'll have in August 2021. And so like I said, this is one of the COVID inspired trips. And I think I had worked with Stephanie and had dates and everything ready to go probably by April or May. And quite a few of the folks that signed up on this trip had actually planned on going to Iceland, but we couldn't go to Iceland. So they're like, we'll go to Idaho with you. But then there's also some other folks who were ladies who were just as excited about going rafting, and the destination appealed to them. So I wanted to just show that there's a lot of different types of people who came on this trip, from those who had been rafting before, I'm not like rafting the Grand Canyon, rafting whitewater in West Virginia, to those who had never been rafting before, especially on a wilderness trip, a multi-day rafting trip. So what I liked about the Maine salmon that I had talked to Stephanie about was, I wanted to know, I said, am I going to be white knuckling this for 7 days or 5 days? And she's like, no, this type of river is great for all skill levels, from families to beginners, and even those who have experience in bigger water can still have a really great time. Stephanie, do you have anything to say in particular about the Maine salmon in terms of skill levels that I didn't cover?
No, that's pretty good. It's warmer water, easier rapids. I mean, they're not too technical. They're just big and splashy and fun, and the beaches are accessible. Really easy walking around, you know, it's not super rocky or treacherous. Nice weather generally. Yeah, it's a really good, it's a really good starter without being too scary, but yet it has a lot of adventure and fun too. So yeah.
And here are these are the other guides that were with us on the August 2020 trip. We have Tony, Bev, and Crumb. And I'll show you on this next slide, but they each brought their own, personality to the trip. Can you tell me a little bit about the backgrounds of the guides that you guys select?
Sure. So we really try hard to find folks that are fairly local. Tony and I went to high school together. We grew up together. We were really good friends. He's always been really into the outdoors, fishing and backpacking and that kind of thing. Crumb, he's grown up here in Salmon. He's our young man. He's, oh gosh, what is he? I think he's going to be 19 or 20 this summer. But the best kid, he's just going places. And then Bev, she just turned 70. She's like our amazing lady. She's lived in Stanley's a little tiny town, a couple hours away from Salmon. I think the population sign says 71. Bev built her own log house. I mean, she's just awesome. So she's been around for 40 plus years. Mostly we just try to get people that have something to tell you about our area. They can answer questions about how much snow do you get in the winter, to different historical things that make our area special. And it's important to us that we have people from this area that can share this area, rather than just import kids from somewhere else that come up for a couple weeks or a couple months in the summer and then they're out of here. So yeah, that's kind of how we look for our crew.
Yeah, and I think that was also something that stood out for me as well, is just that it wasn't just a bunch of seasonal employees who, were coming out. These are people who grew up on the river, are familiar with the river. I mean, it's like it's in their backyard. And each, like I said, each person brought something to teach you, and you cycle around the different boats, and I'll show you in a moment. But you have this time on the river to just talk, and we spent a lot of time talking in between rapids. So I know that for a lot of folks, I just want to show you kind of a bigger map here, because I had no idea where the Salmon River was when this all came about. My geography of out west was really limited. So the way that this overall, here's the zoom out. Okay, here's the northwest. So this trip, everyone, unless you drive, that's going to be a whole nother subject here, but everyone will, if you fly, everyone flies to Boise. And then from Boise, you fly to Salmon, and we're going to spend one night in Boise. This is the day for everyone to get in. Everyone flies to Boise, you take an airport shuttle to your hotel. Then we'll fly together on Gem Air over to Salmon. And we spend one night in Salmon. This where you can buy your adult beverages if you need to at the grocery store, just get a little acclimated. And then the next day we take a bus out to Corn Creek, where we put in that's the put in point on the river. Okay. And then we will raft about 80 miles from Corn Creek to, is it Carey Creek? What's the last one?
Yep, Carey Creek.
Carey
Got
Creek.
it.
Yeah. So then we raft through here, and then we go from Riggins down to McCall by bus, and we'll spend one night in McCall, and we'll go out to dinner, kind of have a last celebratory dinner. You can walk around and shop, and then the following morning we'll take a shuttle from McCall to Boise, back to Boise. So gosh, remind me how long does it take? Is it 2 hours, 3 hours from McCall to Boise?
It's a couple, about 2.
Yeah, but if you were to drive from Boise to Salmon, it's like 6 hours, right? Or 7. It's a long ride.
Yes, it takes our truck about 9 hours.
Okay, so that's why we're doing flights. Now, those of you who want to drive in, like some of us actually took advantage of road tripping last year, and we drove to Salmon. And I know there are people that are interested, that are actually signed up on the 2021 trip, that will drive in because they're coming from Montana. So you would park in Salmon, and then we would do our rafting trip, and then go to McCall. Where's McCall? Anyway, you go to McCall, and those of us who are not flying out of Boise will need to get back to Salmon to get their car. So you could fly Gem Air, which is the quickest, over to Salmon, or you can have your car shuttled from Salmon to McCall, but then you still got to backtrack depending on what you're doing. So we see last year, logistically, it made the most sense to just leave your car in Salmon if you drive, if you're coming from east to west. Now, if you're coming from the west, you would do it the other way around. You would stay in McCall and fly to Salmon. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's I just want you to see kind of on the map where things are. Okay. So here's that just kind of like a overview of the rapids and the trips. So we put in here at Corn Creek. Stephanie, is it like 20 miles a day? Is that what we're doing about?
No, we'll do a little bit fewer than that. Usually we try to keep it between 12 to 15.
12 to 15. Okay.
We did have, yeah.
One day it was 20, and I think that's why I noticed.
Yeah.
Okay. And
yeah,
it really depends on how fast. It really depends on how fast the water's moving. And the reason I like August was just because it's the water levels tend to be lower. And in my opinion, it seems like it's more like it's open to more skill levels. Stephanie,
sure.
Your thoughts?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's warmer. The water is warmer. The lower it is, the warmer it is.
Okay. So we put in here, and then like we stop at the pictographs. The China Bar Lodge is where we had last year. That's the one, like this is camping throughout except for one night at a lodge, and we stayed here, and it's going to be based on availability. So once the group is confirmed, we need 10 people. Once I've confirmed the trip, then I'll start putting money down onto like to secure our lodges. And we stop at some historical sites. We stopped at homes, like people who are caretakers on homesteads. Yeah, so it's about 80 miles through wilderness. So just a real quick image here. This is the Best Western Vista Inn outside of Boise. You're going to spend one night here. This is where we start our trip. Then you fly down to Salmon, and Salmon's this little town. It's got like one main street going down the middle. This is the Stagecoach Inn. Now on this side, I mean, it doesn't look very impressive. I mean, it's not an overall impressive hotel to begin with, but it's really nice on the inside, I think. It's nice and clean. It gives you all the nice creature comforts. And I also am trying to make sure that we get all the rooms that have the river view. So you actually see you see the Salmon River flowing outside your door, your back door, before you even start the trip. And it's just nice to stand on the balcony and listen to the river. And yeah, it's a nice little starting point.
So Tara,
Yeah.
there was a question in your chat box.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. The 80-mile trip, that's from start to finish. So like what, 5-ish days or something?
Yes. Is it, Stephanie, remind me, is it 6 days and 5 nights?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the
Thanks.
first 2 days, the last day we really only like that's a shorter day. Like we get on the water like at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and we were done by 11, right?
Yep. We try to be to that takeout by 11.
Yeah.
Yep.
So feel free to interrupt me. Patty, thank you for letting me know there's a question, because I can't see the chat box right at this moment as I'm kind of skipping through here to these. Let me see. I'm trying to get to the next slide. Oh, so the night before, Stephanie and her dad and Bev came and they handed out dry bags for us, our gear bags, and they talked about how to prepare for the next day. And yeah, it answered any questions. We signed waivers. This was just kind of our orientation evening. And then the next day, early in the morning, we were picked up by a school bus, and they took us out to the put-in site. And it's a pretty rough ride in a school bus because the road is just, graded down. Yeah, there's just lots of bumps, and it's loud, and it's start of an adventure. And then once we get to the put-in site, that's where Stephanie and her team will be to meet us. And on this trip, I want to point out the types of rafts that are here. Now, our group there were 9 of us total. Now, with a group of 9, we had 3 boats that held passengers, and there were 3 people per boat, and like passengers, and then you have your oarman or a boatman who's on who's steering it. It wasn't so. Stephanie, do you want to explain, if we got 16, would you do one of those? Is it called a rowboat? Is that what it is? Because
a paddle boat.
A paddle boat, yeah.
Yeah, that's something we could talk about. Sure.
But I just wanted to know, is it something that you would want to do on this type of river? Because for me, I thought that it was best for us to have these oar boats, because there would be a lot of rowing if we were in a rowboat.
A paddle boat.
A paddle boat, sorry.
Yep. Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. There's some big spaces,
Yeah.
between.
So maybe it's something then after we get our group confirmed that we can talk to you about, to see what the group's interested in and what you think the skill levels are for the group to be able to do something like that. Is that something you would consider, or how do you plan your boats?
We plan our boats mostly. Well, first of all, how many people we have, we need to have that, like you kind of mentioned, about 16, and then demographic, desire. And that's why we put in those little inflatable kayaks last summer, was to give some paddling opportunity, but without making people be in those all the time. Those are really easy to roll up and put away or get out whenever. So, and we'll definitely have some of those.
So Stephanie, this is Pat. So that means different people with different skill levels can go differently. Because I will admit, I would like the whitewater, and I've actually, yes, I'm older now, but I've done actually a fair amount of whitewater rafting. So I'd like a little bit of the adventure if it's available.
Yeah. Yeah, last year we just kind of, just like you said, there were some people that had more experience and they jumped in those in the bigger rapids. And then we had some days that looked kind of like this in this picture that we're seeing.
Sure.
That were really great places for training and just, not quite as big of an adventure right off the bat. And then we had people that hadn't really done it at all and they built up to going through some of those rapids. So it was really cool. We'll definitely have those for those who want to get in there. We can bring more of them too. I mean, I think last year we had like 2 or 3 or something. We can bring
3.
more.
Yeah. And actually, so in my opinion, I like the idea of having the kayaks and then the oar boats, because it was, I mean, I after seeing those slow stretches, I think it would be a lot of paddling.
It is a lot.
I mean, you're doing all the paddling for us, so it's a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think especially by that point of the summer that having those kayaks is a good mix. The oar boats and kayaks is great because they're just so easy to get in and right out again. You can paddle for half an hour or 4 hours,
Yeah.
So,
so actually, that's what I want to move into now. Just talking about rafting. So this trip has flat water and it has class 3s. And what I learned in from Stephanie in last year was just that, it's the class you're anticipating, right? I mean, there could be bigger rapids if the water levels change, but I mean, how do you best describe the classes of rapids on this trip?
I would say mostly 2s to 3 pluses, and then we have one day where there's a whole bunch of 3s. The guidebook says 4, and realize too, it's like just because it says 4 doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be crazy. It's based on what could happen if something were to go wrong, So mostly so this rapid right here, that's Bailey. Actually, no, is that Bailey? It's kind of a funny perspective. That's not Bailey.
But we're looking backwards.
I am looking backwards. That's like a 2 plus.
Okay. So I do have a video. We're coming up on a video because I wanted to show, like you see, like we have these nice calm moments where we're just like looking at, water oozles and, chatting with the guide and putting our feet up and enjoying the scenery. And then I'm not sure which rapid this is, but you can.
That's Rainier.
Rainier. You say it with such
that's Rainier. Yeah. So the guidebook lists that as like a 3. I would say that's more like a 2 plus, but it's super fun. It's got a really fun wave. We're about to go through it a little bit further.
So it's a little long in terms of the video, but just watch it because behind us, we have the kayakers coming through. So you can see that some of the kayakers are, just kind of enjoying these rapids as well. I was one of those people who worked up at the end to do the kayaks because I was nervous at first. And it's funny, watch my camera. It didn't show it here, but I look at the holes with the camera. Like, that's a big
you're coming up on the hole. I can see it coming.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna look at it with the camera. You'll see me.
Yeah, so this is day 1.
That's a big hole.
Yep.
And I think this is one of our first rapids. Is Bailey early on?
This one is Rainier, and this is this is shortly after lunch on day 1. Yep. That's great. Yeah.
I'm smiling back here just watching it. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Even 27 years later, it's fun.
If I could get to the next slide. I might have to, never know how to get out of these things. Hold on a second. I'm just going to start over. Uh-oh. Oh, goodness. I thought I lost you guys. Hang on.
I would love to do it. I wonder if I can do that.
I bet you could. Well, that would be a good time if anybody has any questions while I just get out of this video and
let me tell you too, just a little bit more about our rapids. When you just mentioned, I wish I would like to do that, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if you can see, but towards the bottom of the river, like where the river goes out of sight, it's a calm pool, and all of our rapids are like that. They're called pool drop rapids. So you'll have this big period of white water and then a nice long calm pool. So if you do come out of your boat, you just end up in a pool. Yeah, now you can kind of see that pool down there. And
Oh,
it's
down
not,
here?
yeah. Yeah, they're not real rocky. I mean, they're just, so if you're not real sure and you do take a spill, you just swim a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah. And we had a couple people pop out.
Yeah.
Allison, you were one of the rafters. I'm sorry, one of the kayakers. How did you feel about it?
Oh, it was fabulous. And I think a couple people popped out of the raft because they got hot, right? They just wanted to go for a swim. I don't think we had anybody fall out accidentally.
I don't think so either. Oh, actually, Eva fell out accidentally.
You made it look so.
She did. Well, she just literally
Wonderful.
popped out. All right, I'm gonna go back to sharing. Sorry, I wanted to make sure that okay. Thank you. Forgive me while I navigate this.
Can I make one comment while you're navigating, Tara?
Yeah. Oh, hi, Lori.
Hi. I think the guides were really good at advising when it was a good time to get in a kayak or not. I personally did not go kayaking. It was just a choice that I made, but I know that they would say, oh, this where we're going to go next. If you're this is an easy stretch, so it'd be a good time to try kayaking, or they would say, or we're going to go next is a little bit more wild, and if you're comfortable with that, it's still a good place to go kayaking. And then there were times where nobody kayaked under their advice. They were really, I mean, they know the river.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And you stay in the same line. You learn the word like line. So you stay in line with the rafts in front of you and you just follow their path. And yeah, you don't have to navigate the waterway all by yourself. You could just stay right in line with the lead rafts. And there's always a sweep. There's always somebody at the back too.
Yeah. Kayaks are in between all the rafts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in addition to the rafting, we get out and explore we do a little bit of shore excursions too. And we have lunch. We'll get off the river and they make lunch for us. We will go, here's a picture of the lunch that's all set up. So we put all of our stuff onto the rafts and kind of stretch out on a sandbar or a beach and enjoy our lunch. We do a few short hikes on this trip. I mean, literally like walk up a path to get to things. So you have petroglyphs and Stephanie did a fantastic job of just revealing the history of this place from the Native Americans who were here to early pioneers, with a highlight on her history about the women who came to the Salmon River, to start a life with their husbands, and then maybe outlived their husbands, and then just never left. And they became some really interesting characters. So we stop at some places along the way. There's a hot spring that we went up to and soaked in. And I just want to show you kind of like, just to see, like, I feel like this was probably the most difficult walk because it's uneven, wobbly terrain to get up to the hot spring. But I would say that it's no more than 80 yards. Like, what do you think? Yeah. It's not very, like, walking up to the hot spring from the river. It's not very far at all.
No, I mean, this perspective is the edge of the pool.
Oh, okay.
You can see the edge of the pool down here in your lower right corner.
Oh, so like maybe even 50 yards or 20 yards. Yeah.
A walking stick would be in order for me.
Or a hand. I wouldn't, we've never had anybody, I don't know, last year people didn't bring any trekking poles. What do you think for people who could use a little extra balance or a little bit of extra help on some of that wobbly terrain? I can only remember that one place being, I think, the most quote unquote, like, difficult or treacherous.
That is the worst well, I shouldn't say worse. That's the terrible word to use because it's a really neat place. But the
Yeah.
most treacherous place is right
Yeah.
there. But yeah, I mean, on all of our trips, many of our trips, people bring those and they're fine. They're not any problem to stow away or,
Okay.
you know, it's a good
Great.
idea. Yeah.
Okay. And so this is one of the homestead. Is it Sue? Is that her name?
It was Sue. Yep.
Sue. Do you just want to give just a quick brief overview of why you chose to have us stop and visit her?
Yeah, I really like going to see Sue. She's on her 40th, more than that years in the backcountry. And I like her place because it's reminiscent of what a place would have been like over 100 years ago because they're pretty much totally self-sufficient. They grow all their own food. They have very little access into their place. They can access it by jet boat or airplane, but they can't just drive there, you know. So I love her perspective just because she's there year round. I mean, it's just neat. She's part of that place.
Yeah. And didn't she say that, like, when we were there in August, when was the last time they had been to town? Wasn't it like
October the previous year?
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then she made some muffins for us, but she walked us around the garden. It was just, what was nice is that, you know, because I mean, Stephanie, your dad is a pioneer on the river in terms of river rafting companies, and Stephanie grew up here. You've gotten to know the people who are now, like, some of them are just stories, like they used to be there, and some of them are people making the current story or living the current story.
Yeah, that's so funny that you said that because like I grew up with my dad telling me about the people that were there when he started. And I, you know, of course, didn't know them because they were gone by the time I was a little girl. But like Sue, and then we went down and we saw did we see Barbara at Buckskin Bills? I can't remember.
I think we went to
anyway,
Buckskins, but I don't think Barbara was there.
Yeah, but like Sue, she's part of my history, which is neat. You hit it right on the head, which is cool.
And then is this Francis's bridge? Whose bridge is this?
Yep, that's Campbell's Ferry. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So and then this is Francis's place, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So there's just people that, you know, she'll tell you the whole story about Francis and the blue shed. And yeah, so, and even this was COVID, like, you know, last year, even now, you feel like I guess the point is, I guess when you come onto these properties in the middle of a pandemic, you feel like an explorer from the old world coming into the new world, and you know, you want to keep your distance, you have your face covered. It just felt very like you're on coming into another world. And so hopefully next year too, that the pandemic won't be as bad and we can interact more with people. I still think that we did, but you just kind of still kept a distance because you just didn't know how close you could get to somebody. Some of the wildlife that we saw, there's the bighorn sheep. We saw golden eagles, bald eagles, the water ouzels. Trying to think if we saw anything else. Osprey. Oh, osprey. Yep. Okay, so camp life. Camping. I wish we could just stay in one spot for 4 nights. I just really, really love the camping, and Stephanie and her crew. I mean, there are other people that are out on this river, but you don't really feel like I guess I never really felt like it was crowded. You might see people pass you, or yeah, I guess you see them at the put-in, and you might see them throughout the trip, but you don't ever see them like invading your space on quote your beach. So that was nice that the crew found nice places for us to be able to spread out and feel like we can make the place our home. And so I'm just going to show you just kind of a little bit about how we set up tents. And so every day you've got to unload the boats and here's kind of we form like these fireman lines and pass everything off of the rafts. And set up camp for the night. So this part, the first day, it feels like a lot of work actually, but I think we started really getting into a groove throughout that trip. You get into like a rhythm of how, what it feels like to set up and break down camp. And the crew does a majority of it. I mean, all we're doing is just helping unload stuff. It's amazing what Stephanie and her crew are able to do to give us, you know, the creature comforts that we need. Okay, so you get the first night you get a lesson on how to set up your tent. And I was very happy to find out that this was my tent that was being set up that first night. But they're very easy. So after one day of learning how to set up your tent, you've got it figured out the rest of the time. And then, I mean, I just put a couple of different photos of different views from like different beaches. Now, if you're traveling solo, you can have your own tent. Everybody gets a tent and a sleeping pad. And then of course you get a dry bag to use to store all your gear in as well. So you don't have to bring any equipment. If you don't have a sleeping bag, you can rent one, and it's like $15. It's basically to pay for the cleaning of the sleeping bag. So you don't have to travel with a sleeping bag, you know, by plane and stuff. So the only thing you would need to rent is a sleeping bag. And we were doing some experiments. This is Allison and I were trying to figure out, like, looking at the water levels rising and falling. It felt like there was a tide. So it's kind of interesting to play around. Nighttime on the river, it's just really magical. I mean, you're in wilderness, so it's quiet. You just hear like the sounds of, I mean, you don't hear scary sounds of wilderness. You just kind of get connected to that sound of the river. And the way it like goes over the river rocks and kind of clanks and clicks, and it's just a really special feeling. And you know, each beach is different. Some beaches are wider than others, but one thing is consistent: you're going to have a nice hot meal. And if it rains, they have tarps that they'll set up, so there's like a rain tent just in case. There's coolers to store if you bring any beverages on this. They ask that you don't bring things in glass though, so cans and box wine is best, but don't bring like glass bottles. They do. You guys had white and red wine for us for dinner at night. I mean, and our dinners were like, Steph, can you just remind me, like, they were delicious. Just give me a couple ideas what dinners are, if you can remind me.
Sure. So this is steak night. We have steak, baked potatoes, a big green salad, broccoli. I think we did we do bananas Foster for dessert that night?
I don't know, maybe, but that's, I mean.
Yeah, another one, we do like a lasagna night. So you have lasagna, garlic bread, Caesar salad, cheesecake. My favorite is our grilled salmon night. So it's like grilled salmon and homemade pasta thing that's so good. All of our stuff is made right there. We don't bring anything prepackaged or any of that. So super fresh. Yeah.
And you do Dutch oven cooking too.
Yeah, lots of Dutch stuff. Mm-hmm.
So
and look at the view. This is just so nice. I mean, this was my favorite time. I really loved after camp was set up and we could just kind of sit, you know, sink into the sand and just like eat and drink and laugh. Some places we were able to, you know, do they set up the barbecue and had like almost like a little bonfire, and we, like, you know, told stories and played some games. You can find time to be alone. Like this is at China Bar Lodge. I went down to the water and I just did some journaling and just took it in. And I haven't found myself playing. Like I found myself wanting to walk barefoot on like boulders. And I felt really happy being here. And yeah, so I think that just the experience is just unique to everybody. And this is one of the last days, it's actually our last night on the river. And I want to say it's one of my favorites. The beach was a little bit more rocky, but it was so warm that day. So one of the things that you need to be prepared for is that it could be cold. Like mornings are chilly. Like I'm going to show you that we're wearing like almost like we're wearing winter hats and layered up, because before the sun, you know, gets into the canyon, it's chilly. So I would say, do you think the mornings are maybe like low 60s, high 50s? What do you think the mornings are like?
High 50s,
Yeah.
mid 50s, high 50s.
But then, this day was all sunny and we were just really just kind of soaking it all up. So I know that the other question is, all right, so where do we go to the bathroom on this trip? So any solids go into the groover. So the groover is, the toilet that is set up by the crew. It's basically a bucket with a lid, and it's got this, this tent. And you saw it previously. Actually, I want to go back. So look, it's facing out. The river goes this way, so no one's coming back up this way. And you actually have quite a bit of privacy over there. And I know that for some people, the bathroom part is going to be what's going to make you step most out of your comfort zone. So solids go into the groover, and then just, number one, you walk out into the river and pee, or you find a well-positioned rock to squat behind by the river. So that part, I mean, everybody, gets their, nobody's watching you, but I think for some people, like, squatting by the river is definitely outside their comfort zone. Steph, do you have any suggestions or like ways that I think not suggestions, but like, you've worked with lots of women on trips like these, and like, I don't know, do you ever find people who like just they can't do it, or they feel too uncomfortable?
I think the overall thing is everybody has this worry, almost everybody, and they get here and they see it and they're like, oh, that was no big deal.
Yeah.
It's just no big deal.
Mhm.
We keep a hand washer system down there. We've got sanitizers and a water pump thing there. I mean, it's very clean. It's probably cleaner than most public restrooms.
Oh, probably. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Does anybody have any questions about the toilet facilities? Last year I brought some solar showers on this trip. Nobody ever used them. It's just, you don't feel dirty. You're not like grimy dirty. I had some wipes that, I cleaned up with some disposable wet wipes, but I never felt that I needed to actually take a shower. But we'll bring them again. We'll bring the solar showers. And also there were fires that last year. So it was kind of cloudy and overcast in some days. And I don't think it ever got hot enough for anybody really to want to take a shower. Those of you who have been on the trip before, do you have any feedback on like showers or toilets or anything? Or maybe how you thought it was going to be and then, how it was actually?
Tara.
Yeah.
I'll add that. I think it was the third night that we were at a lodge that had hot showers.
Yes.
So
Yes.
knowing that, it wasn't like we were working up a sweat during the day. So you didn't feel like you needed a shower for that reason. And then knowing that we were going to be at this lodge on the third night and we could get a regular hot shower then. It was just made it all easy, super easy.
Yes. So that is the next slide here. So it's like 2 nights camping, 1 night at the lodge, and then 2 more nights camping. So it was a way to break it all up. And the lodge is, I know when you think lodge, you think like maybe safari style lodge, high end. But I mean, this lodge is a remote wilderness lodge. It's got, bedrooms with 1 or 2 beds in it, depending on, like the layout. And it's a pretty basic place, but it's a great place for us to, I don't know, just sit on some solid chairs, take hot showers, sleep in a bed, and just kind of just recharge before, or reset, I should say, before getting back out on the river again. But so we will, on this trip, have a stay at one of the lodges.
I think that was the day that it rained too, so it was perfect.
Yes, you're right. It was like perfect timing. And then here's the end. This is Carey Creek. And this is where we take out and we get into a bus and say goodbye to our crew and go into McCall. And McCall, I mean, it was nice and sunny. I mean, it was just, we're fresh off the river. We had we got showers. We went and had dinner downtown. We went and had ice cream. And then, so this is it was me, Lori, Laura, and Cindy, who flew back to McCall. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to reveal something about myself, which I mean, I definitely, I do a lot of things in my life that requires some bravery. But when this young lady pulled up, I found out she's 21, and she just flew this plane from Boise to McCall, and then she was going to fly it to Salmon. She did it by herself. I all of a sudden got really sexist and ageist. Like, I wanted a 50-year-old man to fly this plane. I was like, oh God. But anyway, we did it, and we flew, back to Salmon. And I mean, that's pretty amazing that this young lady is like flying solo. Ah. Yeah. So here's just that view again. Here we end up at Cary Falls. Okay, so how do you pack? You need to be prepared for everything. You need to be prepared bring your swimsuit. And I have a very detailed packing list that I'll share with you. But what I don't want people to think is it's gonna be 90 degrees, because it's August and you think, oh, it's summer and it's 90 degrees and hot. It can get cold on this trip. And you keep in mind that you are in remote areas. So your shelter is what you bring with you. And we want to make sure that you have enough layers and enough shelter to layer up. So if you do get chilled. So it wasn't until the end of the trip in 2020 that we had nice warm day where we all got sun-kissed, and we were just hanging out in our bathing suits. But here in the middle, this is like Renee, and I believe this is how the day started off. This is what the morning's like. See, she's wearing like a beanie hat. She's got probably a bathing suit on underneath, a long sleeve like sun shirt, and then a fleece jacket, and then a rain jacket to layer up. And then over the course of the day, you start peeling away those layers. And in the front of the boat, you can keep your dry bag. So you can take those things off, put it in your bag, latch it to the rope so it doesn't go anywhere when we hit rapids. But if you get cold again, you can start piling up your layers. And I want to point out that on the packing list, it says a rain jacket and rain pants. And you want these things not because of rain, which it could rain, but you want it because of the rapids in the morning. They'll definitely wake you up so you want to have that cold water. It could be a little shocking. So you want to have rain gear to help keep yourself dry in the early mornings. And here's kind of an example that Stephanie sent me last year, just of, what these big dry bags look like. And, you can fit your clothes in there for the week. You'll be able to fit your tent. Do we have 2 dry bags, Stephanie? I can't recall. Was it one?
So you get one big one. Those are the big ones for your overnight stuff. And then a little dry bag for
it's like half the size.
Daily things. Yeah. And also real quick, while I've got you, I do have to go here pretty quick.
Sure.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right.
So if you have any like immediate questions I could do, or however I can help you.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Stephanie? I think Stephanie would definitely, be the best to ask if you have questions about the rapids, questions about skill levels.
But Tara knows everything too. If I'm not here, she knows what she's talking about too.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, so if you have like some of the technical questions. No? All right. Well, Stephanie, it was great to have you on, and thanks a lot for joining us.
I'm so sorry. I had a 6:30 plan, 6:30 Mountain Time. So anyway, I do have to check out, but yeah, if there's anything that anyone needs help with it, Tara can get it all. And if she can't, she can send it to me, and I'm happy to take care of an answer. And I hope to meet all of you that I haven't met this summer. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Stephanie.
Okay. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So going back to the dry bags. So what I love about this is what I want to show is 2 things here. Lori has frog togs, and you don't have to buy $200 rain gear, to take on this trip. Frog togs, I think are like $30, right, Lori? Like for the top and bottom?
$20 for the set.
$20 for the set. Yeah. And they work really well just for being on the water. Now the pair that she had, actually, I don't have a picture of this. They had a blowout, so they ripped. But I've never seen them have like that kind of issue before. But what I love about this is we called it this. We all gave each other names on this trip. And were you the sand crab? Is that where you were?
Sand
Yeah.
spider.
Sand spider, because you can't see she's got these pink nails that would be sticking out here. But yeah, we gave each other river names, but I like this because she blended in completely with the sand. And then I don't know if you could just see here in the distance, there's the Groover, the toilet. It's like the last thing to go after the trip after the tents have been cleaned up. So those last minute bathroom stops. Yeah, so what does it take to sign up? So I'm going to take us to the Green Edventures website. And you just find it by going to the tour type for the women's or destination, United States and Idaho. And so here are the dates. And if you scroll down, you're going to get a lot of details. You'll see some of the rapids, what's included, and then there is the pricing. So if you sign up with the discount code before April 15th, you'll save $100. So the price would be $36.45. After April 15th, it goes up to $37.45. But this includes a flight, if you remember that. It includes all your pre and post trip lodging and includes all your meals. And right now we currently have 6 people signed up. We need 10 to confirm it. And if we have 16 is the maximum on this trip, but if we have 12, our trip will be a private trip. So that means that Aggipah won't add any more other travelers to our itinerary. Now, if other people were to be added to our itinerary, they would be in their own boats. We would just be sharing the camp with them. But hopefully, I think we'll be able to meet our minimum of 12 to have it as a private trip.
Question.
Yeah.
What are there things to do? I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
In Boise before a day after for those who may decide to come early or leave late.
Yeah, that's a good question. So last year I didn't go to Boise, but a few of you, like Nina and Allison, do you have any, or Lori wasn't in Boise, so it'd be Nina or Allison maybe could give some advice about Boise.
We roamed around.
Okay.
We took like an Uber from the hotel. I think we stayed at that.
The Best
we stayed
Western?
at that Best Western, yeah. We took an Uber downtown and roamed around and found a Mexican restaurant to eat at, and they had it closed off, like these streets closed off because people were eating outside because it was the beginning of the middle of the pandemic stuff. And so that was great. It's a very walkable area. We had met Allison at the hotel, and we attached ourselves too.
So I guess it's also a good, it's a good time to get to know one another at the beginning or recap at the end.
Yeah, and then Renee she went ahead and rented a car and did some like hiking and stuff on her own. She drove around and went to like Craters of the Moon National Park, and so there's some things you could do, like some day trips from the hotel you could do. And then Eva went shopping. Did you guys go shopping too? She came back down there with that dress.
We did. When we were roaming around, we found like an outdoor store, and yes, she bought some clothes.
Shopping is always good.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
Allison, do you have any tips for anything in Boise?
I remember we took a tour. I remember seeing the blue field, the football field. I'm a big sports fan, and that was pretty incredible. I remember seeing that, and just the scenic area, and that downtown was really cool. I think we did it before and after.
When did we pass that? There was a giraffe. Remember, we passed, like, it must have been some sort of.
Yes, the giraffe sticking his head. Some kind of park we were in. But that was
near a zoo or something.
Giraffe head over the fence.
One of the things that I remember, Allison, you sent me in McCall, you did kind of was it like a shuttle
Oh.
tour or something of downtown McCall?
Yeah, it was a free shuttle bus, and I'd mentioned that might be because some people had a little trouble getting to the airport,
Mhm.
because the taxis wouldn't show up.
Oh, that was us.
Yes.
But it
McCall was
really
very cool.
It was
Yeah, cool town.
like an hour tour around the place. McCall was just gorgeous with the big lake and
Yeah.
and everything. It was wonderful to walk around.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got to see those two little mountain towns, Salmon versus McCall. McCall definitely has a lot more going on than Salmon did, but at Salmon, it depends on the time of our flights getting in. We could go see the Sacagawea Visitor Center, and it's all about Sacagawea and Lewis and Clark. Honestly, this trip made me fall in love with the Lewis and Clark expedition. So I've been listening to there's a book called Undaunted Courage that I'm listening to on audiobook now. And I just really, having been on that river and traveled through a little bit of the same territory as Lewis and Clark, it's nice to kind of retrace their steps, even if it's just a little bit at a time. Good. Any other questions?
No.
So I know there was, some of you kind of came in a little, you think it's late, but you were on time. There was a miscommunication in the timing of the presentation, but I did record it. So you can always watch the beginning of it. I'll make sure I send you guys the link so you could see, where what you missed. I apologize for that, but thank you very much for your interest in the trip. And I really do hope that I see you all, in Idaho this summer. And if you have any questions that you want to address, privately, you can just reach out to me, Tara at greenedventures.com. But thank you very much for attending the presentation.
Thank you, Tara.
Tara, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was
Nice
an
to see you
incredible
all.
trip.